It's the divisional round of the playoffs. One team played great defense last weekend. Another team has a great defense. Let's get to the crossover episode of Locked On Texans and Locked On Patriots.
You are Locked On NFL Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's happening? I'm your host of Locked On Patriots, Nick Collins, along with the co-host of the Locked On Texans, or host of the Texans, John Hickman, for a postseason crossover. And of course, this is the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network, your team every day. On today's crossover episode, in the third segment, we'll tell you how each side can punch their ticket to the AFC Championship game. In the second segment, get ready for some marquee matchups. But first, it's a big-time game with some big-time storylines heading in. Crossover Thursday is presented by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, John Hickman, Locked On Texans, Nick Collins, Locked On Patriots with you. John, let's start here. The biggest story in Houston as they head to New England this weekend after dominating the Steelers in that fourth quarter on Monday night.
I think it's two stories. Number one, the defense will travel, right? That was Houston's first playoff win on the road, going up to Pittsburgh, that environment, no problem. And the defense showed why it wasn't a problem. And honestly, a lot of people have to understand and realize this. The Texans have been traveling at home. They've been doing everything over the past 2 months, and they ain't lost, right? And so I think that's the number one story nationally, right? But also attached to that, maybe more so locally, but it is a huge story in development, the possibility of going into this game with no Nico Collins. And on the flip side of that, the Patriots may actually have Christian Gonzalez. He practiced today. He's on the fourth stage of, I think, the concussion protocol. So when we look at Houston going up to Foxborough, they're going to be taking on a good team. A lot of people like to say the Patriots hadn't played anybody. You got to play who's in front of you, right? And that's a good defense in New England. That's a good offense in New England. Not having your best of the best guys out there matters. And I think in many ways, Houston may miss Nico Collins if he doesn't play. So I think that's, a part of the biggest storyline right here in Houston. No Nico Collins potentially for a big game on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I said this on the podcast yesterday, just giving a little bit of background for the Texans, for, listeners and viewers of Locked On Patriots. These are two of the hottest teams in the NFL. And you could say they might be the two hottest teams in the NFL, right? I mean, the Texans have won 10 straight games. The Patriots have won, 14 of their last 15. So you've got two teams who are super hot and two teams that played their best football. I would say the Patriots in stretches last weekend. Drake May was not great in the first half, of course, but was much better in the second half. But these two teams had the most convincing wins during open weekend, right? The wild card weekend, you had a bunch of crazy back and forth, close games. And, that fourth quarter, again, it was close until the fourth quarter, and then the Texans ran away from it. I do want to ask you, though, John, Nico Collins, for Patriots fans who might not see a lot of him, might not understand how important to the offense he is. What does he bring to CJ Stroud in that offense, and how big of a loss would that be?
The most underrated receiver in the NFL. That's who Nico Collins is. Nico Collins for Houston, majority of this season, especially when he's been on the field. This is his second game. Potentially he'll miss. We'll see what happens throughout the week. I think the final injury report for Houston will come out on Thursday, right? So maybe Friday. We'll see. I'm sorry. But for Nico Collins, he is the ultimate ceiling raiser for an offense that has struggled. I call offensively challenged, right? A new offensive coordinator, Nick Kelly, former Patriot coach, right? We know that background. He gets over to LA, so he's bringing over two philosophies. And that could be hard for players to, kind of deal with from a receiver standpoint. Just put the ball in the area where he can catch it, and he's going to come down with it 9 times out of 10 and make a play. So you look at what Nico Collins brings to the game, 6'4", great catch radius. It's hard to overthrow him, even though there's been some overthrow issues this year. And here's another thing, man. Let's just say Gonzo plays, right? The New England Patriots will be with their cornerback 1, cornerback 2, nickel cornerback. So you're looking at a DB room that will be healthy enough to play, right? And so you want a playmaker like Nico Collins out there who can do
Right.
pretty much everything on the football field. Even though he's 6'4", he'll run a route like he's 5'11", right? So he has the shiftiness. He has the ability to get open, especially on in-breaking routes where we know C.J. Stroud loves to throw throughout his career. So that's why when I look at the most underrated receiver in the NFL, that's why I point to Nico Collins. It ain't just because I cover him. It's because without Nico, we're looking at an offensively challenged team that would be devastated without him this year. He has carried this offense a lot when the run game wasn't working, even when C.J. Stroud had his miscues, when there's no other wide receiver two on the other side of him trying to elevate a wide receiver room that has two rookies and a receiver in Christian Kirk who balled out on Sunday, but that was the first time we seen it all year, trying to pull those guys along. He's the ultimate eraser of just bad things around him, and Houston will miss him if he doesn't play on Sunday.
Yeah, you mentioned Christian Gonzalez a couple times. That's the biggest story, I think, in New England right now is his availability. And he was out on the practice field, as you mentioned, on Wednesday. He had the non-contact red jersey on, but the fact that he's already made it to like phase 4 of that protocol would seemingly look like a pretty good sign for him to play on Sunday. So, and that really changes a lot. You know, I mean, I think he's the second most important defender on the team behind Milton Williams. I thought Milton Williams before his injury was the second best player. You could argue that Gonzalez is the most important defender. You can go back and forth between Milton Williams and Christian Gonzalez, but, you know, without Nico Collins, if he doesn't play, I mean, I think, you know, it'll be fascinating to see how the Patriots deploy their corners because, you know, it does allow the Patriots, if Christian Gonzalez is out there, it allows the Patriots defense to be multiple. It allows them to spin the dial like they did against the Chargers. We didn't see as much of that in the regular season as we saw in Wild Card Weekend, just the disguising and playing, you know, cover and match man and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see how they attack this Houston offense. But, you know, if Christian Gonzalez can't go, now I think you play less man. Now that, you know, you can't open the playbook up as much as you do with him.
Right.
And you've got, you know, Charles Woods and Alex Austin would probably be the next men up. Obviously, they are not Christian Gonzalez. It would put more heat on Carlton Davis and Marcus Jones.
It ain't a lot of Christian Gonzalez out there.
Yeah. It would put more heat on Carlton Davis and Marcus Jones. So, yes, Christian Gonzalez being able to play on Sunday would exponentially help this defense, which took a big step last weekend. You know, I mean, I think people looking at this defense, rightfully so, had some questions. That was their most impressive performance last weekend. Now, the question is, can they follow that up?
I have a question for you that
Sure.
I think is also a big storyline, or at least for me personally. My Texan listeners out there know where my heart resides, so they're comfortable with me asking this question. But first game back for a player that I really loved during the entire draft process, and that's Will Campbell.
Yeah,
I mean, that was the first week, and it was ugly for the Rook, right? It was ugly for their left side altogether, but it was a rough day for the Rook. And so when I look at bigger storylines and how it, you know, match up with what Houston has going on, with what New England has going on, they're going to clash on Sunday. Just where is Will Campbell this week compared to where he was last week going into that first playoff game?
You know what? I'm going to use that as a tease because I think that's going to be part of my marquee matchups coming up, John.
Yeah,
so
probably will.
We'll have our marquee matchups next as we continue with this postseason crossover episode of Locked On Patriots and Locked On Texans. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Q-U-O, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. You'll love how simple Quo makes everything. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number so nothing gets missed. It works right from your phone or computer, and you can even keep your existing number. It's no surprise Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNFL. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNFL. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. Hey guys, the draft order is set and so many teams are looking for their franchise QB. Ever wish to become a pro QB getting drafted by the Pats? Well, now you can. There's a mobile game just for you called Ultimate QB Football Legend. In this game, you step into the cleats of a number 1 draft pick quarterback, and it's your job to help turn a failing franchise into a dynasty. This is the number 1 quarterback career mode game on the mobile app stores, and it introduces the most realistic environment with full career control. Sign contracts, train and upgrade yourself. Give input to your GM on roster moves. Ultimate QB is totally free to play and has no ads and works 100% offline. Just head over to ultimate-qb.com. That's ultimate-qb.com, or search for Ultimate QB in your app store. And we've got something special just for you guys. Use the promo code LOCKEDON, all caps, in the game store to get a free boost at the start of your career. Ultimate QB, football legend, QB1. It's your legacy. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level. Kick it up a notch. Go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today. Get Locked On Patriots or Locked On Texans with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month, or get a deal, $50 for the year. Go to LockedOnPatriots.supercast.com or LockedOnTexans.supercast.com, or check the link in the show notes to learn more. Also, don't forget, if you're watching us on YouTube, give us that thumbs up, click the like. We appreciate it. Those likes help with the algorithm. Don't forget to throw a comment in as well. We want your prediction for this football game. And don't forget to subscribe. You can subscribe to both Locked On Patriots, Locked On Texans. All right, John Hickman with me here from Locked On Texans. Nick Cattles with you from Locked On Patriots. Now, John, usually when I'm hosting these crossovers, I hand this off to the co-host and say, what's your marquee matchup? But since you asked me about Will Campbell, and since I had the tease, I'm actually going to start off, if you don't mind, because
Can I tell you why I asked you that question?
Sure.
Text messages, calls, tweets. What Will Campbell gonna do against that defense after the performance on Monday night? And I'm like, guys, I love Will Campbell, but I can admit it was rough, and I can also admit, hey man, that was scary on Monday night. Like Daniil and Will and the guys on it, that was scary. So
yeah,
that's why I asked you that question.
Well, I think I want to start with the marquee matchup with Morgan Moses. And the reason why I bring up Morgan Moses is because if he can handle the right side of the offensive line, if he can take care of what's going on over there, and I thought he was mostly excellent last week against the Chargers.
Good.
If Morgan Moses, who's been mostly good all year long, if he takes care of business, which is no easy task, obviously, because as you just mentioned, John, you've got those two edges, right? But if you can trust Morgan Moses one-on-one for the majority of the snaps on the right side, that will allow you to help Will Campbell more, and that will allow you to do different things. I also think Josh McDaniels will likely, move the pocket and use Drake May's mobility to help get away from the left side and try to get Drake May to roll out right often in this game and get him moving that pocket. Morgan Moses is also really good in the run game, and we'll get into that a little bit later about what the Patriots are going to need to do to try to score points against this defense. But I would say, as far as Will Campbell goes, look, he talked about it to the media on Wednesday and mentioned that, he had 3 or 4 reps that he wants back. It was a really tough challenge against the Chargers and all that stuff. I think Will Campbell, it's absolutely worth questioning. And we don't know how he's going to respond to last weekend's game until we see him on Sunday. He has done, I think, for most of this season, a good job. I think he's been more than adequate left tackle. But I think this matchup is difficult for any left tackle unless you're talking about one of the best 2 or 3 in the game. So They're going to need help, and they're going to need Morgan Moses to hold, that right side of the line to make sure that they can devote that help to Will Campbell.
Yeah, no, I agree. And from the outside looking in, so I'm going to say I'm going to frame it as from Houston looking into, Boston, going to Foxborough. You're absolutely right. Like what they do on the outside, not only it helps them out in their career, but the guys on the inside feast as well, right? So this is going to be one of those matchups where, and I think we can, kind of pivot to the marquee matchups. This will be a matchup where how can DeMeco Ryans win the chess game against Josh McDaniels, who seen it all in the NFL. He's seen he's seen that coach team when they had them two edge rushers back in the day, right? So
Yeah.
he's seen it all from a defensive standpoint and understands how to attack it from an offensive standpoint. And for DeMeco Ryans, I think he's also seen it all going back to his days as a player, San Fran, right? Or in Philly, San Fran, and now as a head coach. I really think that's going to be probably the key matchup to win this game, if you ask me, simply because for the Houston Texans defense, if they have another performance like that, even with Drake May's ability to operate the pocket and get upfield and use his legs, it's kind of hard to put all of that on a second-year quarterback who may likely win the MVP, but going up against that defense where they are good on every level, that's a tough task.
Yeah, and who could help him out? My marquee matchup number 2, John, is Stephon Diggs versus Jalen Petrie. And Jalen Petrie moved from safety to nickel back. He's been much better in the nickel this season for Houston.
All-pro.
And yeah, I mean, so when you look at this matchup, now Stephon Diggs will move. He'll move all around the line of scrimmage for the Patriots. But you've seen teams start to double Stephon Diggs, especially on third down. The Chargers did a decent amount of that. I just think this is a fascinating matchup. If you do get Stephon Diggs lined up against Jalen Petrie, can he take advantage of Jalen Petrie? And can he come up with some big plays because Jalen Petrie's been so good? If you take Stephon Diggs out, then that means like last week, you're going to need somebody like Kayshon Boutte to show up and get you 65, 66 yards. You're going to need those tight ends to show up. So Stephon Diggs was a security blanket for Drake May all year long. And now you start to see teams responding and reacting to that and treating Stephon Diggs like a true number one. So it'll be fascinating to see what the Houston Texans do against Diggs, especially on third down. I know Houston does what they do on defense, right? So I don't know if they're going to change a whole heck of a lot, but that matchup, Stephon Diggs versus Jalen Petrie, is an important one. What's your second marquee matchup, John?
Man, I got to kind of echo that. And I look at Stephon Diggs' numbers this year, 6 or more targets in the game, 57, 101, 146, 105. You look at 138, 101. This has been one of those years for Stephon Diggs on the field where you kind of maybe underappreciate what he's still doing in this year in his career. When he does get those targets, he's been a very productive player. And when he doesn't get those targets, it's not like he's not productive, but he also kind of leaves room for other players in their wide receiver room to get open. So I think what Diggs can do and what the defense can do against Diggs will also help dictate the game for both sides of the ball, because what I like about the matchup for Houston is they get after the quarterback, they make it tough on whoever's back there, right? Jalen Petrie, I think, will hold his own. He's held his own against everybody this year. Derek Stingley is the guy. Kamari Lassiter is that guy. Like, those are dogs out there. But there is room for this DB room to be challenged downfield if a quarterback can consistently in the pocket have time to challenge him downfield. So if Stephon Diggs can be that player where the defense has to commit maybe underneath a little bit more to him, you're not going to expect Stephon to go downfield and run a lot of these, nine routes or fly routes and all like that, where he's been more productive. And that's dating back to his season last year with the Houston Texans, or everything that he can do underneath. If that is an impact, like if Stephon Diggs brings that to the game, then that may hurt Houston if they decide to step up a little bit, and they could leave room to Kayshon Boutte, who's been a down-the-field player for the Patriots this year, to make plays. And so I think a lot of how Houston can win this game is just simply their secondary following up on the performance that they had last week. 2 different quarterbacks, 2 different receiving rooms. The guys in New England can get open a lot more than the guys in Pittsburgh. So I'm curious to see how that battle will play out.
Yeah, and it's going to come down to Josh McDaniels, too, who can help out Drake May, try to find ways to get Diggs going. Again, I think it's a tough matchup. My third and final marquee matchup quick here is K'Lavon Chaisson against Ariante Ursery.
Chaisson had a good year.
Yeah, there's no doubt that K'Lavon Chaisson is the best edge that the Patriots have, and that's been really a struggle bus for them. Harold Landry was great in the first month. He got hurt. He hasn't been the same guy. K'Lavon Chaisson was great the first couple months, then a little up and down, but he was really good against the Chargers last weekend. So you've got, your top edge against the rookie left tackle on the road. And K'Lavon, if he can come out and give you a couple of plays, we saw CJ Stroud last week look rattled, let's put it politely, against the Steelers. If Caleb on could put some pressure on that blind side, maybe you force a mistake or two and it changes the game. What's your final marquee matchup, John?
Man, good question. I gotta go quarterback versus quarterback. And it's not a matchup because they won't see each other. Like, it's not an offense versus defense thing, but both quarterbacks have subpar performances in their first playoff game. Now, for Drake May, his second half was much better than his first half.
Yeah.
But they both had 2 fumbles. Both had an interception, right? They both struggled with turnovers. I personally think the team with the better quarterback will win this game. Now, and this may go into keys to victory a little bit, I don't think CJ Stroud has to be amazing for the Texans to win this game.
Right.
I think Drake May has to be amazing for the Patriots to win this game, considering the defense that he's going up against. So, however the defense chooses or goes about containing those quarterbacks, I think will play a huge role into the quarterback performance. But I look at the quarterback battle on both sides, and I see a first week that was up and down for both, because CJ Stroud wasn't all bad. 7 third-down conversions. On those third-down conversions, he had 158 yards, right? He had plays downfield. The turnovers is what hurt him. And that defense was still able to will him to a win with 2 scores. Hard to believe Stroud is going to follow up with that game that he had and have another bad game like that. Same for Drake May, who's played at the MVP level all year. Which quarterback will lift their team up, I think, is a matchup that we all need to be looking out for.
All right, John and I will have each team's path to the AFC Championship game next on today's crossover episode of Locked On Patriots and Locked On Texans. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As the new year gets going, a lot of people are trying to simplify their routines, and dinner is a big one. Between busy work days, cold winter nights, and packed schedules, having an easy, reliable dinner plan makes a huge difference. That's where Home Chef comes in. Home Chef takes the stress out of cooking by delivering fresh, pre-portioned ingredients right to your door with easy-to-follow recipes that actually taste great. They're rated #1 by users of other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease. And it's easy to see why. Meals come ready to fit your schedule. 30-minute recipes, oven-ready trays, or quick lunches. Recipes are simple but feel elevated, even restaurant quality, with dishes co-created by chefs like Gordon Ramsay. For a limited time, Home Chef is offering my listeners 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Just go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert. If you've ever hired someone who looked good on paper but wasn't the right fit, you know how important that is. When you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed sponsored jobs. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. If I needed to hire someone for this show, I'd go straight to Indeed and be very specific about what I need. Real experience, not just a resume buzzword. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results using Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show get a $75 sponsored job credit to help give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL. Just go to Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. All right, he's John Hickman from Locked On Texans. I am Nick Cattles from Locked On Patriots. John, give the people what they want. Your keys to victory.
So for the Houston Texans, it's obviously following up on another defensive performance that they had Monday night. I mean, you can't ask for a better performance. Historic. They hold Aaron Rodgers to his first and probably last playoff game with no TDs. And I say last because I don't see him coming back. 6 points from the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that's the lowest. The lowest the Houston Texans allowed in the playoffs in their franchise history. 2 pick sixes, multiple fumbles, multiple sacks. You follow up with that performance, and it pains for me to say this, but the chances of the Texans winning this game is very likely. The chances of the Patriots winning this game is very low. Another key to victory, CJ Stroud. Listen, the conversations right now the fan base, social media. Who is CJ Stroud for real? He had the Rookie of the Year season. Since then, tailed off a little bit. Is he the guy? Is he going to be the next $60 million quarterback? And with the performance on Monday night, don't feel like it. For a lot of people, I think a key to victory is for CJ Stroud to shut us all up. Nick Caley shut us up. A lot of people looked at Mike McDaniels getting fired in Miami, and Texans fans was like, hey, fire Caley, bring Mike McDaniels to Houston, and it'll be perfect, right? And all last week, I told the fans, first of all, y'all are crazy to want to go give CJ Stroud another offensive coordinator in 3 years, but Nick Caley has had improvements, and he's been good this year. My same call to action is for CJ Stroud. Just don't have the turnovers. That's it. I mean, you take those turnovers away, we're looking at a different conversation from that quarterback perspective from CJ Stroud. And again, he was excellent on third down, in my opinion, outside of the one interception. So for CJ Stroud, just be better. Be the guy that you want to be. And are you going to be the turnover guy? Or are you going to be the guy that's in question every time the Texans offense take the field? Or are you going to be the guy that other teams have to really and truly game plan for? And I think this is the first step of silencing all of his haters, naysayers, and everybody who looked at the game and will now question if he's a franchise quarterback or not.
Yeah, I look at the keys to victory here. Number one, ball security. You mentioned it with CJ Stroud, but the Texans regular season plus 17 turnover differential, third best team in the NFL in takeaways. So you got to take care of the football. Drake May was careless, not once, but twice in the pocket last week and fumbled. You got to make sure you take care of that. The pick, not that big of a deal. Deflected pass, that happens. But you just can't have those two fumbles, especially, the first one when you get bumped from behind, somebody's there and you try to reset and try to do too much. You can't do it. You can't do it. And you mentioned, Houston against Pittsburgh on Monday night, they had the scoop in the score. They had the pick six. 1 to 2 big defensive plays in this game, it could be game over by either side. You turn the ball over, you get quick points, you have a short field. It can change everything. The second key to victory for me with the Patriots is up the physicality. You had a very physical football game against the Chargers. Houston is fast. They're physical. They hit hard. Drake May said on Wednesday that, the linebackers try to take your head off when they hit you. So
what they do?
You got to up the physicality against. If you thought you were physical against the Chargers, amp that up. You've got to be even more physical against Houston on Sunday. And I wonder, will the rest day help the Patriots with that? Obviously, the Pats have one more rest day than the Texans. They played on Sunday. Texans played on Monday night. So can you take that and turn it into an advantage? Mental, physical, we'll see. My final key to victory here, John, is early down offense. Drake May has been excellent on third down this year. He has had to save this offense on so many occasions, third and medium, third and long. You can't do that against Houston. You cannot survive being third and medium, third and long. You just can't do it. So early down offense, you have to stay ahead. You have to stay on schedule. You've got to, make sure that you're staying ahead of those chains and you're not looking at 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, because I think that's just absolutely deadly against this defense. A little bit of run game success would help that, right? You get a little bit of run on the early downs, open up the play action, some creativity from Josh McDaniels, but the early down offense. All right, we don't have.
I also want to build on that for the Houston Texans because this season, the New England Patriots run defense is number 6 in the league, right? Really good. I can't remember what they allowed from the Chargers last week, but hey, man, Woody Marks rushed for over 100 yards last year. This is first in his young career, and hopefully to be a long career. The offensive line, in terms of run blocking, probably their best performance all season. So for the Houston Texans, what really helped that offense out a lot, they saw a lot of 3rd and shorts. And when you have an offensively challenged team like they have, and the possibility of not having Nico Collins, being able to replicate that performance, I think, is just as important as that defensive performance as well.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And the Patriots run defense, it was excellent before the Milton Williams injury. Milton Williams got hurt. The Patriots run defense was not good. Robert Spillane got hurt. It got even worse. But now those two guys are back. And last week against the Chargers, it was pretty darn good, aside from a couple of Justin Herbert scrambles. So, I think with Milton Williams, with Robert Spillane, I have a little bit more confidence that Patriots run defense is going to be okay. He is John Hickman, Locked On Texans. I am Nick Cattles, Locked On Patriots. We're not going to give you the prediction. We'll give you the prediction on our Friday episodes. That's going to wrap up this postseason crossover edition of Locked On Patriots and Locked On Texans. Thank you for making us your first listen and for being an everydayer. Don't forget to throw a comment in on the YouTube channel. Hit that like button and subscribe. If you're looking for a gift for someone, make it easy. Check out the Everydayer Club, ad-free episodes of this show, exclusive Discord server access, and more. Subs can be gifted through lockedonpatriots.supercast.com or lockedontexans.supercast.com. Have a great day. John and I will be back, respectively, with our deep dive previews on the Friday episode. Talk to you then. Bye-bye.